Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today I wanted to talk about the T word when it comes to marriage, and that is talaq, divorce, right? Literally, with these words, we as Muslims, we believe that if you utter these words, if the man utters these words, and that's it, basically, divorce is issued, and the marriage is, that's it, pretty much comes to an end. The relationship is over. Just like that, in the spur of the moment. It can happen, right? And if you're wondering, like, why would you make a video on divorce, right? Let me tell you why. Because as imams, one of the most common issues that we have to deal with is marital issues, which is natural. It happens. There's always going to be disagreements, and there's going to be sometimes things get heated, and sometimes there's no compatibility, etc., etc. People bring their problems to the table. Some level of spiritual counseling needs to be done, and that's a separate issue. What I'm talking about here is a bit more specific. That there's many men that come and they say, we had an argument last night and I got really angry, and in the state of anger, I I said talaq 3 times. What do I do now? And we're just like, what do you mean? What do you do now? It's like you are the one that said it. Yeah, but I was really angry. I was so, and then it's just like, not to sound funny, but who divorces their wife when they're feeling happy, when they're feeling over the moon, when they feel joyous? Who issues a divorce in that case, in that scenario? Right? Of course you were angry, right? But the problem is, why didn't you control your anger? Why are you coming after the damage is done? The damage is done now. You've said it, and now you're coming. This is something that should have been addressed a long time ago. If you knew, even before you got married, if you knew that you have, anger issues, management issues, and you don't know how to control your temper, that's something that you should have worked on before you got married. We nowadays we talk about, I'm ready to get married just because I've hit a certain age. Age doesn't, it matters, of course, but just because you've hit a certain age, that doesn't mean that you're ready and qualified to get married. There's a lot of issues that need to be dealt with before you get married, and you can't just expect your spouse, right, the woman that you're marrying or the man that you're marrying, to somehow magically make those bad traits and qualities disappear, right? So now coming back to the main issue, which is, okay, what do we do in this situation, right? I'm not going to go into what exactly is done, because every situation, every case, every scenario is different. It's unique in its own right. But the real problem that we're dealing with here is, why do you say the words of divorce or talaq when you get angry? That's not the way to deal with things in a marriage. Is that the way that you deal with things? You get angry, so you say, yeah, okay, I divorce you. What was it over? And a lot of the times it's something minor. Even if it's something major, how major are we talking? Right. That before it even gets to talaq, we'll talk about that. Before it even gets to the stage where we even talking about divorce, there's a lot of other things you need to do, right? And this is actually a pre-Islamic. We're talking about in the days of ignorance. This was a common practice that especially men would abuse. That they would just issue a divorce, and they would say, crazy statements like, I divorce you, then with the number of stars there are in the sky, that's how many times I divorce you. Like, they would just keep divorcing their wives and then taking them back, divorce their wives and take them back, divorce their wives and take them back. It was just an abuse of power and authority, almost. You could put it like that. Now, nowadays, right, people are doing the same thing, but they can't. Why? Because Islam has come, right, and Islam has set in rules. There's rules that have been put into place now, where you can't just say the divorce. There will be consequences. In other words, that the Quran teaches us, there will be consequences if you say it. Our Prophet teaches us there will be consequences if you say it. Just saying it, you don't need to write it down. You need to go through a whole process. You can just say it, and that's it. It could be over. Your marriage can come to an end, right? So the problem is not, oh, why is it so easy? No. Why are you jumping to that straight away? You could say anything when you get angry. Firstly, of course, you're supposed to stay silent if you get angry. But if you were to say something in a fit of anger, you could say anything. You could, not that I'm endorsing or encouraging this, but you could say, something else. Another word comes out from your mouth, right? Why do you jump to divorce, talaq for? Like, seriously, why is that the first thing that people jump to? Fine then, that's it, you're divorced. You're no longer my wife. Like, seriously? Like, is that how immature we are in a relationship? That we don't even know how to control ourselves, we don't know how to control our anger, we don't know how to respect our spouse, our partner that we've probably been married to for a number of years. This is a huge problem within the Muslim community that we need to address. This is unacceptable. You can't come after the damage is done and then say, oh, I was angry. Well, my friend, you need to take some serious anger management courses, and you need to go through some, I'm not downplaying it. It is a serious issue that you do need to address, but you can't go on like this. Okay? So there's that element, that you can't take divorce as a joke. It's not a joke. And talking about jokes, let me give you the other side of things, right? And some of you may find this hard to believe, right? Can you imagine this, right? That recently we had a case where a man jokingly divorced his wife. Like, there was no problem between them. It was literally a joke where jokingly he said, oh, I divorce you, I divorce you, I divorce you. He said talaq 3 times as a joke, and then they had a laugh about it. And then he asks us about it, and we say, by the way, you do know, right? According to a lot of scholars, if you joke about divorce, it can also take effect. And he was like, oh. Firstly, why are you joking about divorce for? Like, what's so funny about that? What exactly is banter about divorce? Why would you even say that for? Right? And now again, you've landed yourself in trouble. These aren't things to joke about, right? Nor are they things to just say. You need to really think about this, right? You need to think about what marriage is all about, right? So, in other words, right, controlling your anger, staying silent, right, having respect for the other person, right, not just jumping to, oh, I've run out of patience. No, you haven't run out. You haven't tried. You haven't tried. You haven't given it your all. You haven't invested into this relationship, right? You've got a long way to go still. You've got a lot to learn about each other. You've got a lot of your own. Forget the other person. You've got a lot of your own character building to do. You've got your own personal development to do. You've got your own rectification to do before anything else, spiritually and in other areas. You've got a lot of work to do on yourself. And yes, perhaps your spouse does have work to do. They're not perfect. They do have flaws as well. But you need to understand, you need to tolerate. These words that we mentioned, patience, forbearance, respect, tolerance, empathy. These aren't just some buzzwords that you throw around and that are just like fancy on social media. These are real things that we're supposed to be implementing into our relationships. We're supposed to have that love and mercy. Allah says in the Quran, mawadda wa rahma. This is what Allah mentions in the Quran. You're supposed to have that built into the relationship. You've got to give it your all. And yes, I will end with this, and I will say that, of course, divorce is an option, is a viable option sometimes in some relationships when it can get very toxic. It can get quite abusive. We would even sometimes recommend that you get out of that relationship. We'd say get out from there, right? Yes, it can get to that stage, or it doesn't even have to go to that extreme. It could just be that there's compatibility issues. It's just not working out. You have tried everything. You've got family involved. You've gone through some counseling. You've got some religious guidance on things. You've tried everything, and it just hasn't worked out. Yes, that's where nobody's forcing you to stay in a relationship. You can opt out. And then the divorce option, the talaq, is a viable option. I'm not completely discarding that either. Absolutely, it can be. But I'm talking about the 99% of cases today that we're not just talking about, it's actually seriously not working out. We're talking about it's just being really, really taken as a joke, and people aren't taking this seriously at all. And then they come to the imams, and a lot of the times the damage is already done. Then there's other issues at play. So before we get there, let's just understand the severity of this, the importance of this, and let's bear all of these things in mind. We ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us an understanding, and we ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keeps us happy and grants us all prosperous marriages and relationships, inshallah. And we ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us all the best in this life and the next. Thank you so much for listening. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.